up, friends? This is Jazz bringing you another what I've read and what I've played and what I plan to read and play in the future. I know it's only been about 2.5 months, but there's some pretty big and significant changes in the last couple of months, specifically on what I read. So the playing isn't as much as the what I've read, surprisingly. So as I said, I'll get on to what I've read first because there's more significant changes there. The first thing is I finally finished reading The Essential Calvin and Hobbes. My gosh, it took a long time to finish this, specifically because it's a bigger Calvin and Hobbes treasury, and for a comic it is actually quite, not difficult necessarily, but it uses unique language. Bill Watterson has this unique way of speaking in some of his strips, because he goes from the point of view of a child, but also he has philosophy type of speaking in sometimes, but as I said, this is a bigger of his treasury, so it took me a while, but I finally finished it less than a month ago, I believe. I finished reading Return of the Mummy. Did I like this better or worse than the other? Slightly better, actually, because I don't know, it's just, you already knew the characters in this book. Gabe and Sari is the main ones, right? So you already kind of established a bond with them. And the fact that, spoilers, the reporter was the sister of the king that she was trying to revive, which was amazing, even though, the assistant guy was surprising and not that he was the villain. With her, I already knew it going in, she was the villain, but it would have, from what I've read, there was some legitimate, wondering, right? She didn't seem really bad until the last, little bit of it, right? If I had gotten this completely blind, I may have been more surprised than I was. And it's also the fact that the brother chokes her out in the end, that he never wanted to be disturbed. In this situation, the mummy isn't really the villain. He wanted to be left in peace, and the guy who was being portrayed as a villain was just trying to warn the guy, the uncle then, and it just, over the head, right? I did enjoy this one, as I said, this one with already having established characters, with a little more, enjoyable, in a way. So, now I'm going to have to dig in a little bit more. I finally finished Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Kind of got ruined a little bit from me putting it in my pocket. My own fault. Sorry, readers. But I enjoyed it. This is the second time I've read through this book, but the last time I read through this book was when I was in early high school. So this is the first time that I've read it and fully understood it. At high school, as I said, I had special needs, so I wasn't quite even, I was just barely the age range for this, and I barely understood it because of my processing abilities. This is the first time I read through this and actually understood pretty much everything I was reading. It was still a bit hard with my processing ability, but it wasn't unbearable like it used to be. So I find it so heartbreaking. This is the last book in the Harry Potter series that I have already finished once. The one I'm going on to, which will be the Deathly Hallows, which I forgot to get for this video, but I will include a picture in there because I am planning to read it. That is in my list, the Deathly Hallows. I have not ever fully finished, even back then. So it'll be my, hopefully first and last, well, I guess I might reread it, but this will be my, hopefully be my absolutely first time that I've read fully the Deathly Hallows. Hopefully the next video or two, you'll see that I finished the Deathly Hallows. That's in my list to read. Keep that in mind. this is the most recent book I've finished. Garfield Bigger Than Life. Oh my gosh. I think I'm starting to appreciate Garfield more and more. This is the third one. I never gotten the second book in this series, but it's something that it doesn't seem to matter if I had really read the other one before, because it's just as good. I mean, National Fat Week. Good boy Garfield. He is absolutely clever, lazy, but can be active when he wants to, when he needs to be. Right? He's not the best role model, I suppose, but a very entertaining one, in the very least. It was a good series of strips in this book. Another comic, yeah, there's kind of a theme with comics a lot in this. Baby Blues. Cut. This is number 27. When I got this in one of my birthday hauls last year, I believe. I couldn't get the earliest ones of it. But this is my first Baby Blues, treasury I've read, and I've enjoyed it so far. Even though it's been out for years and still out, apparently. I think this is one of the oldest, currently running strips, I believe. I mean, if Garfield's still going, then that probably is. I mean, new ones, then that's probably the oldest one out. But next to that, the ones that I know of, this is one of the currently oldest running strips. Because for better or for worse, didn't quite make it to 30 years. This is past 30 years now from what I've read. So, I guess they have something going if it's still going that long. I did enjoy this strip. This was actually a very easy read for me. Now, despite this is not a picture book. It's a comic book. But it's a small comic book like the Garfield one was. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. For me, it was a good introduction to it. I should see if I can see some of the older strips in a way. James and the Giant Peach. What do I have to say about this this book? I know I've had a lot of strips in this video, so please forgive me, and I'm still going on half my brain. I'm awake, and I had sleep, but half my brain at this point. This is an interesting book. I did enjoy it, but keep in mind, guys, this book was made for children. And I think I've seen words in this book that even the series of unfortunate events hasn't said. But I should be impressed, because Roald Dahl does not treat his audience like idiots. He uses big vocabulary at some point that I had to look up in a dictionary. I haven't had that severe issue not severe, but I haven't had this issue with a younger kid's book in a long time. I understood it. Don't get me wrong. I understood everything in a really good way. But there are odd moments where there's things like the ants being rolled over flat, lifeless to their death. The word, I forget what word it was. Yeah, I know, that's how much I remember. But it was a word that confused me. It was more confusing because it wasn't expected in a book like this. Okay, in other words, this is what children should be encouraged to read. Nowadays, there's a lot of children's book that dumbs it down so much that it's insulting. This, I would highly recommend for children, especially those who maybe aren't quite ready for things like a series of unfortunate events or Harry Potter. But, yeah, I know, I'm saying that, but I mean, okay, we'll just put it this way. There's some where I understood completely the first 3 Harry Potter books. No, nothing looking up anything whatsoever. Yeah, I had to look up a word or two in this book. So we'll say this is a good middle ground book. Like, it's pretty complex in a way, but it isn't too far. So I'd say I would read this before a book like Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. But I think if it was a younger child, I might go the first Harry Potter book before reading this. With adult supervision. I don't know how to say the challenge is hard. It depends on the person. Like, for me, when it comes to vocabulary, this can be a little confusing at times, but it's the content itself isn't overly bad, except for the one thing with the ants being rolled over by the peach and dying. That is probably the worst thing. And I suppose there were scary sharks, too. And, okay, there's just some parts in it that are a little confusing why we're in a kid's book, but again, that was a good thing, too, because Roald Dahl wasn't treating his audience like idiots. And that is respectable from an author, not censoring it. And people tried to censor this in other Roald Dahl books, which, no, keep it as it is. Kids can handle it. I mean, of course, sometimes it's good to have an adult with you when you don't fully understand and ask, but kids can still handle it with adult, know-how. So, don't treat kids like they're morons or too young to handle something. I mean, okay, sometimes it's true, they're too young to handle something, but the Babysitter. Oh my gosh, guys. I don't know what to say. Like, this book, it was good. Okay, I know it sounds like it's amazing or it's terrible. Sometimes I don't know what to say because it's either good but not great, or there's things in it so it makes it sound better or worse than it is. Like, there's just spoilers for this book. This is R.L. Stine's trip into, this was before Goosebumps, actually. So this before he was known for Goosebumps. But it was more of a young adult's book. This is a series. I got the second one of it. So this isn't meant for, like, Goosebumps age kids. This is meant for a bit older than that. So, young adult, young teenager, maybe 13 and up, 14 and up, one to babysit, old enough to babysit. And the funny thing is that this girl is babysitting this young boy, and she's having all these issues, like hearing people, thinking someone's watching, someone's calling her, freaking her out. And besides that, things go relatively well for a while, except for those instances. But there's cliffhangers. Like Goosebumps, there's always these cliffhangers, which, again, kind of spoils a bit of it. But it turns out in the end, it was the father. He ends up trying to kill her, and then he falls to his death. Yeah, not quite for 12-year-olds, do you think? 10 to 12-year-olds, don't you think? Though, yeah, like, it's guess he lost one of his children, his daughter, his little girl, and he catches her making out with her boyfriend and having people over when he specifically said to her, look, I know a lot of babysitters are cool about it, but please, no one else. Donnie, the boy, has to be your full attention. And for the most part, she'd been really good about it. She would let people over. She was very careful with Donnie, but that one slip-up, she forgot. They didn't go home on time. Or they got their home earlier. They happened to walk in on them not only having people over, but smooching. And the mother didn't take it so bad. The father was always paranoid, though. There was always something a bit wrong with the father. So it was expected and not. I mean, I already saw the spoilers. I already knew that was coming in the end. But I'm like, that makes sense. And then there was this plot line about this neighbor following them. And she thought maybe he was the person. But he was really FBI searching for that father. Figured he killed some other babysitters. There was babysitters that got hurt other babysitters, and they've gone missing or they've been hurt on the job. So he suspected, knowing the past of the man, that he may have had something to do with it. So he was trying to spare her, right? In a way, this neighbor. So it's one of those things where you think it's one guy, but he was completely on the good side, right? And then the opposite, where the girl thought the father was a little weird, but he wouldn't do something like that. Wrong? I mean, if it wasn't for her getting out of the way, she would have died. At least the others that were mentioned were hurt, right? But most of them were relatively okay. They were attacked, but they were okay. She could have died. But what makes me wonder, that the one thing that makes me a bit doubtful, okay, of course he was going to hurt her, but makes me doubtful about whether he hurt these other girls was that, I mean, wouldn't they just say something? Like, if they suspected something might happen to someone else, like, wouldn't they just go, look, I was babysitting this guy, just went wacko. But, you know what, I should be more sensitive, because if the girl was attacked, either they were knocked out and maybe had some problems with their memory, or they could have been just so afraid that they couldn't say anything. And that could be understandable, right? Even if them saying something could spare some other problem going on. When they're traumatized, it's hard to see that reasoning. So I'm being respectful, guys. I apologize if I sounded disrespectful saying that. So there was always a little lingering doubt, though, if the father had anything to do with these other instances. But the FBI, the cop, the detective, had a suspicion of him because of his history of having problems with the babysitters. So now let's get to the games that I've finished. I am going to include a picture of this, and it's the game My Lovely Daughters. I brought it up in a lot of hauls that I've gotten, and I've beaten the PC version before, but I've played it fully on the Switch lately, and right now I have another game on there to show you in a minute that I think the picture's more needed for. So, the other way, I mean. So, I enjoyed the game quite a bit. I actually got the best ending, you know. I got some of the other endings. I completed, like, a lot in it. And it's something I know that's a bit morbid, but it is kind of worth playing. I think if you're into those type of things, we're going to say I wouldn't play the game if I have severe mental health issues, you know, because it is very morbid. So that said, the next game, and this is probably the last game I actually beat, Pokemon, oh no, there's two other games, Pokemon Scarlet. I finally beat it. I even got the Shiny Charm. I do need to complete the ending, you know, the post-game, but I'm counting it because I beat the main part and got the Shiny Charm, so enough to say that I've beaten it. I had a blast with this game. I got 2 shinies even without the Shiny Charm, and in full odds too, which is a memorable experience. The story was great, but I have a video going on that later as a review, so eventually when I get it edited. So again, keep an eye out for that. We'll just say that I had a great experience with Pokemon Scarlet, more so than even when I played Pokemon Violet, maybe because I went all out in this game. With Scarlet, I was trying so hard to play because my workplace got it for me. I finally beat it because the DLC is already out, but I'm getting that for my birthday, so hopefully that'll be in the next one or two that I've played through the DLC. Maybe. So I know this was a bit of a short one for games, that's what I mean. So, but when it comes to things that I'm going to read in that, it's going to be different. Right? Read and play, so I am going on to that section of it right now, what I'm currently reading. So I am going to be reading the Half-Blood, or no, the what is it, the Deathly Hallows. I already brought this up, so I'm going to be playing I'll put that somewhere there. I'm going to be reading that very shortly. I'm also currently reading The End. This is the final in the series of unfortunate events. Finally, I know. And I'm like this far into it. I read some of it at work, but I decided to finish the Half-Blood Prince instead of continuing to read this and waiting to read the other later. But I've enjoyed it, but it's bittersweet because it's getting close to the end, and that's really sad for me. I had a ride with this series, and I probably will reread it at at a point. I was one of those rare ones, well, I suppose others just ignore Liberty's warning about putting it down, but one of those rare ones that it was sort of non-bothering to me. I could not say anything really good about my personality. I do feel bad that children went through so much, but it just didn't get to me like some does for some people. I can handle it better than some. Not saying that I don't have sympathy for the Baudelaires, and I have nothing negative to say about it, like nothing is their fault, right? And I don't like Count Olaf and all that, but it just doesn't sting me as hard. Let's put it this way. Matilda, speaking of Roald Dahl, I plan to read that as a middle ground book again at some point because I loved the shows Matilda and the books Matilda. So I figured, why not pick that up and read it now? Not now, but pick it up and read it sooner than later and get this done so I can go to other books. I am going to bring this up. I think I do plan to read a new series soon, or start it anyway. And it's not going to be until at least my birthday, because that is part of my birthday gift, so I'll include a picture there. And it's going to be the Chronicles of Pirating, the Book of 3. Now, I think I'll pick that up after I finish the end, as at least the start of the new series. And after that, until I get that rest of the series, I will pick up the first Chronicles of Narnia book. So I'll put them both there, in case I do all this before I do this next video in this series, just to give you a bit of a leeway now. Another update is that right now, I might still be reading some Watership Down. I'll still include the picture up there, but I'm not worrying about it as much because of how difficult it is right now. So it's there. If I read it, I read it. If I don't, I don't. I'm not making such a big deal about it. The newest comic I'm reading, the Calvin and Hobbes Lazy Sunday book. I'm like that far in, and I've been reading a lot of comics lately because I find great bathroom books, by the way, or if I'm not feeling good, it's an easier read. This is definitely easier than that other Calvin and Hobbes book, I'm telling you that. And I'm getting through this a lot quicker than I am with the other. Maybe I'm becoming more of a proficient reader, because I read over 40 pages the other day, maybe 60 or 70 between the other comics and the Harry Potter book, so I think I did really well reading this. Now, trying to find one of the last ones that I'm reading right now, that I'm going to be reading, Goosebumps, The Phantom of the Auditorium. Now, you would think I would read a lot more Goosebumps books in this time span, but I am trying to read higher level books as well to get to kind of, comics, like, I'm saving these for, because these are actually, some of these Goosebumps books are actually easier than some of these comics. So, surprisingly, some of the comics are more difficult to process. So I'll try to think of things that are a little more challenging, that I need to think about a little bit more. But I still like these occasional middle books, and this is the Goosebumps book that I'm up to read next. So that is that in that way. And I'm sure I'll also put in, I'll be planning to read the 7th complete library, The Better for Worse, Volume 7, when that comes in, which you will get in unboxing. I'm hopefully getting that on the 3rd of October or a little later. So hopefully they'll accept my money for it, because I had it pre-ordered for less than a week or less. So that's good. I have it within the time frame of them shipping it, earlier. So hopefully soon they'll ship it so I can get it. So that's about that for the reading. Now, when it comes to the games that I'm playing, it's a little bit more difficult than the ones I've played. So where should I start or end? Yeah, I know, I should start by moving the stuff out of the way. You're probably noticing that I never mentioned that I finished the Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons of Wonderful Life, because I did not. This is still on my playing list. I'm on year 6, so I'm so close, and I think I will try to pick up this more now than I have, so I can finish it for next time. The game, guys, it's good, but once you complete everything, it is kind of, what's the saying? Boring. The game is really good, guys. It's a really good, faithful adaptation of A Wonderful Life. Makes it more easier to play, too, which is good, too. But the one thing I could probably give The Wonderful Life is that at least it was harder to complete these things, so you have to play longer and actually have more to do. With this, you pretty much complete the important things within the first 3 years. Maybe 4, 3.5. So, you have to just kind of get through the rest of it. Slog through the rest of it. So, again, guys, I don't regret getting this game. I really did enjoy it, and it was good for a relaxing play. But we'll just say, I'll be kind of happy when I can say I have it beat, so I can move on to other things without, being guilty about buying, for $60, $70. I don't regret it, but I feel a little guilty for not thinking through, in a way. So, another game that I am playing on and off is Pokemon X. Now, guys, I've started this game, but I got so busy with Scarlet, amongst other things, that I put it down. But I was doing a challenge where I do a new team every gym in the main story, right? And maybe this was a tad bit of a mistake, because I'm slower to get through the game because I'm taking the time each time to raise a team. I'm kind of waiting of making 2 teams for 2 gyms in a row, so I can just go through the story a little bit more quickly. But even that kind of makes it a bit longer, and then I stop. So this is my own fault, guys. I'm not blaming the game. This is my own decision, and I will hopefully get back to this one here. Alright, what else do I have that I've been playing? Oh, yes. This one is the most interesting one I've been playing, and I'm going on and off this because this is a bit challenging when you don't do it right. Yes, I know. I am playing this and somewhat enjoying it. Remember years ago I brought this up in one of my Harvest Moon videos. I think I said, oh, this game is bad, it's annoying, I get lost. I still do get lost, but I was getting the hang of it by the time I stopped playing it. I'm going back to playing it. This is probably a good game to get me out of my comfort zone, as Man64 said. So, I'm finding this more enjoyable now that I have been a Story of Seasons of Wonderful Life. Yeah, I know. Miracles happen. Maybe because I'm getting used to putting in more effort in my games and I'm paying attention. The one thing I do gotta give this, though, is that in some ways it has the opposite problem of Story of Seasons of Wonderful Life. You have to be prepared every single day you play this game. You need to have a plan of action, because if not, you're wasting valuable time. It was mentioned, and I see why it was mentioned. I'm playing the second file I played on this game now, where the first file I missed. I got a lot of stuff done, but I missed it so badly that it was hard to get the other important things done. Like, I had to know to befriend certain villagers, which I've been neglecting in the first file, and I still am neglecting a lot of the villagers, but I'm trying to keep track of who's important to get in and befriend. Everyone is, in a way, because you get musical notes in this game for that. But right now I'm trying to think of what will get me the most so I can get to other stuff later. You kind of see what I mean, but every single day matters in this game, unlike Story of Seasons of Wonderful Life at this point. So it can get overwhelming instead of boring. It's just a balance you kind of need when it comes to those 2 games. But again, I don't regret picking it up and playing it. I might go back and play it later a little bit when I need to keep myself busy, maybe. Alright, what else is it that I am currently playing or plan to play? Now, we'll just give a little update on this. I haven't started this game yet again. I really do want to, though, so hopefully someday I'll take a break from X and put this in for a while, because I really have to do that. Now, we'll just say I'll give an honorable mention. I might try to go back to Earthbound a little bit because I'm getting close to the cutoff of my expansion, you know, my Nintendo Online. So, might play that a little bit, but that isn't a priority. Just like Watership Down isn't a priority. But I do plan to go back to playing Yoshi's Crafted World because it's an easier game and it's out of my comfort zone, as the Unman64 said, and it's something that will help brand my horizon, so I plan to go back to playing this a little bit and see if I can beat as much of the levels, many of the levels as I can. This will be more of a change of pace game. You know, if I'm playing something for a while to change things up, I will add this as my other game. And we'll just say another honorable mention that I'm playing on and off. Pokemon Ruby. Now, this is an honorable mention because I'm not completely taking it as seriously, because I'm doing a Professor Oak challenge on this, and this isn't a real game. I can't completely beat it because it's hard, almost impossible to get feedbacks in my low tick, and if I did it wrong, I won't be able to get Snorunt and Glalie either. So, it is a Professor Oak challenge minus possibly these 4 Pokemon. But if I can get Glalie in that, or Snorunt in that, I'm getting Glalie. But minus the 2 for the most part. I'm not even thinking of Feebas and Milotic at this point, but just leveling up everything else that I can get, and this is something I can do if I just turn my brain off. Because when I'm grinding, I don't really have to worry about anything. Future Jazz here. I forgot to mention a couple of games that I am playing and want to play that is pretty important. The first one is Cooking Companions. It was on the last list. Hopefully this time I will get to play it more, since I want to add more variety to what I play. So, I'm also getting a version for my birthday, so I can play it in that way too. And the second one I'm currently playing as of now, trust me, again, this is a day or so jazz later. Not feeling the greatest because I was addicted to it half the night. It's a YouTuber's life. Ironically, I'm doing better on that than I am in this channel. Yes, it's not a new game at all, and I think I'm finally getting to a point I understand it. Like when I first played it, when I first picked it up, I did not understand the mechanics much at all. I was excited about it, but I didn't quite get it. I'm starting to learn how to work things in this game, so I got 133,000 subscribers on that game. I'm in the 2-room apartment. So, I'm still learning how to do the collaborative thing with my partner, right? And keeping the rent paid. That's the hardest part I'm having right now. But I think I'm finally starting to getting a hang of it in some degree. But yeah, guys, that's a note. Games can be addicting. Just be careful. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel and like what you see, please subscribe and help this channel a lot. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so you know when new videos are coming out. And I'll see you guys in my next video.